Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Sens Nation podcast. It is Steve Warren along with the coach, Greg Kennedy. Let us jump in. I took stock this week of the top 6 players at each position throughout the Senators organization. And what I did, Greg, was I took out any kind of preconceived notions, as in Pinto, Amadio, and Greig. They're probably going to be the third line to start the year because they were so good in that role last year. No. I just basically went at each position, ranked the player from 1st to 6th throughout the organization, the 1st place guy through to the 6th place guy, and just basically one of those deals like, okay, who do I value more? Which guy is a more impact player? Who are the best players at each position? So, and by the way, how are things? By the way?
Thanks.
Good.
Things are very good. Long week, man. I think it's good.
You got to love that. You got to love that in the NFL.
Blue Jays lost to the Brewers yesterday. They better beat them today.
Right. It's looking very good for the Jays, though. Let us move in to the left wing rankings to start it off. Let me know, good listener, in the comments, whether, or email us as well, sensnationhockey@outlook.com, whether you agree with these or not. But these are the top 6 at the left wing. I'll read them off. That's why I have the glasses on. I'll read them off, Greg, and you can tell me what you think, if there's anybody that you think is completely out of place. Shockingly, Brady Tkachuk is the number 1 left winger on this team. Who knew?
Go figure.
Yeah. Then you got, I don't know if you want a pen or anything, but here we go. I've ranked Ridly Greig in the number 2 position, followed by David Perron, Nick Cousins. Then it really drops off at the left wing position in the Sens organization because
already
then you go
dropped off.
Well, there's 4. There's your NHL players, but the 2 guys at left wing that I think will be the best call-up options, I guess. But I'm still just ranking them as I see them. I've got Ole Lixell and Zach McEwen. So there's your best 6. Don't have any injuries at left wing, although there are some guys who can play both wings. But that is your best 6 as I've laid them out on the Hockey News Ottawa, thn.com/Ottawa. So
from what you've listed there, yeah, I mean, you nailed it. That the top 4 for sure. And as you said, don't get injured. That's some scary stuff, though, isn't it? You're a left winger. Nick Cousins is also a centerman. David Perron can all play the right side. Like, holy smokes! Like, that is not a strong group at left wing.
No. Well, I mean, I think it's just a big drop off is all. And I think Ridly Greig is at a stage now where he's now in his 3rd full season. And if you look throughout history over the last 30 years, there are a ton of young guys who have just okay first couple of seasons, slowly progressing. And their 3rd season, there's often an eruption. And depending on how Greig is utilized for the coming season, I feel like even if he stays on that sort of 3rd line that we saw last year, I feel like he's going to really have a bit of a bust out if he can stay healthy. Again, I think that guy too often writes checks that his body can't cash. A big man's psyche in a smaller man's body. So I worry from that perspective. But I really think he can be sort of that, Mike Pekka type guy who can go out there and play 2-way hockey and be really pesky and also contribute in a big way offensively.
Everybody talk about how it's going to be, he's the prime candidate for the breakout season and all that. It's more like it's a make or break. Like it's a defining season now. It's what are you going to be long-term for this team? Are you going to be a top 6 winger who can put up 20 goals, 25 goals? Or are you going to be a 3rd line pest guy for the rest of your life? This is really the make or break season for Ridly Greig in my mind.
I think that the Sens think he can be more than just that because really if he's that guy who's just a pest, then they'll pay him like Nick Cousins. And Cousins for a 2nd year in a row is checking in with the Ottawa Senators at a contract below $1 million. The Senators have just given Greig a 3-year contract north of $3 million. So, or maybe it's 4 years. So they think a lot of him. I think they think more of him as just a pesky or maybe somewhere a hybrid of the 2, but that's why I'm not as bleak on the left side maybe as you are. And I think that David Perron is also, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, that's a guy who came to Ottawa and wanted to make an impact, but for reasons to health, to family's health, he was out of the lineup a lot. And I think that he's going to want to show up this year healthy, ready to rumble, and prove to fans in Ottawa that he's, even at his late stage as he prepares for his sunset years, still a hell of a hockey player. So I'm not that bleak about the left side. I mean, I think it could be better, but it's not that bad. But right wing, let's move on to right wing because it's going to take all day. We're spending a lot of time on left wing. You got Drake Batherson, number 1, Claude Giroux, number 2, Michael Amadio at number 3, Fabian Zetterlund at 4, Arthur Kaliyev at 5, and Hayden Hodgson as your number 6. And I threw Hodgson in there because he's most likely you're probably looking at a fourth line option if you're bringing anybody up from Belleville. So I kind of gave him an advantage that way. But lots of controversy there, I think, with a lot of people. There are 4 really good NHL right wingers that I mentioned there off the top, and you could pretty much roll the dice and have anybody in any order. Batherson's always going to be in your top 2, but everybody else I could see, anywhere.
You got flippables. You got flippables. Yeah. Trademark. You can flip Giroux and Batherson as 1-2 just as easily. You can flip Zetterlund and Amadio as 3-4. Either one of them could be third or fourth, right? Zetterlund could even play in your first line. That's the one position of strength here, where you've got 4 guys who are NHL hockey players who can play. On the right wing, and even Amadio, you wouldn't be out of place, and played some games in the top line, on the top 6, in the second line, on the first line. He's played up the lineup too. Any one of those 4 guys can play anywhere with anyone else. It's going to come down to chemistry and who's hot, I would think, as to who's going to play where when the season starts.
There will be people who are watching or listening and saying, Zetterlund, come on, he's not going to be at that stage. He's not going to be the fourth line's right winger on this team. It's just not going to happen. I'm not talking about positions. I'm just talking about how I rank them at this stage of the game. And Zetterlund being in that 4 hole is more to do with the other 3 guys and how much I like them. I just think Zetterlund right now, I afford the possibility that he could return to his San Jose form and put up big stats. But, San Jose was the worst team in the league when Zetterlund was there, and he got all the opportunity there. He's got a lot more competition for those key minutes and key line mates here in Ottawa. So, I don't know. The jury's out for me. He had 5 points in 25 games, or 26 games, including playoffs, and I want to see him get more before I start putting him ahead of Amadio, Giroux, or Batherson. That's why he's in the 4 hole for me. I'm sure that a lot of people would disagree, though.
I disagree, but that's fine. I see him as a number 3. I see him as being a better player than Michael Amadio, for sure. He's not up to a Drake Batherson status yet. I think he'll get there. I think it's on potential alone. He's a top 2. He's a top 6 guy on potential alone. But show me. Got to see it first.
Let's blast through the center. We got Tim Stützle, Shane Pinto, Dylan Cousins, Lars Eller, Jan Yannick, and Stephen Halliday. There is your top 6 organizationally for the Ottawa Senators, by my rankings anyway. What say you? Pinto and Cousins is probably most people's biggest controversy here.
And I actually agree with you fully. Pinto, to me, is a better all-around hockey player than Dylan Cousins at this time. Dylan Cousins needs to learn the defensive side of the game, and if he develops that, then I think he passes Pinto because he brings a little more on the offensive side. And plus, he's also got that chemistry that he's shown with Batherson and to a certain extent David Perron last year. So he probably starts out the year in the 2 hole, but I think Pinto's probably a better player. I agree on. I'm not so sure about Jan Yannick. I think Stephen Halliday's ahead of him, and I think Halliday's a guy who can play the wing. He can be called up and play left wing for you. Maybe that adds a little more depth on that 4th line left wing spot anyway, or sort of on a call up situation, because the top 4 there were 2 great. You'll recall we talked about that earlier. 5 and 6, Halliday's better than both of them.
Interesting, because you were never a fan of Logan Brown. No. That's the name that in my mind is going off in neon lights when I watch Stephen Halliday in games and practices. It's not that I think that either player lacks intensity. I just don't know, because they're big, tall guys. I just don't know that they have the foot speed to be regular NHL players. I just find Yannick is a slightly better skater, which is why I gave him the edge. not to mention the Staios tie-in where, we talked about with Kaliyev, the Hamilton Bulldog effect, the Bulldog Brigade, if you will, might give him an edge as well. But I just don't like Holiday's skating right now. He needs to be better.
Well, I don't think he's ever going to be anything better than a third line guy in the NHL if he gets there. Remains to be seen
Yep.
who's better than who. Yannick Halliday. I mean, you're discussing the fifth and sixth guys on the depth chart at this point,
Yep.
right?
On to defense, if he's healthy, Nick Jensen is at number 1. Then you have number 2, Artem Zub, Jordan Spence at 3, Carter Yakimchuk at 4, Nicholas Matenpalo at 5, and Lassie Thompson at 6. Anything you want to take down there?
You got the right 6 guys. I think by the end of the season, Nick Jensen will no longer be considered your number 1 guy. I firmly believe, from brief conversations with some people who apparently are in the know, that Spence is going to start the year playing with Shabbat, and I think he's a breakout candidate. This guy's going to be a breakout guy. I really think he's going to be a player, and I think by the end of the year he'll be 2, if not 1. I think Zub has been regressing the last couple of years. I think Jensen is probably best suited to be in the third pair, and I think that's probably the way it'll flesh out by the end of the season.
You think Jordan Spence could be Ottawa's number 1 right shot defenseman this year?
I do. Well, I don't know if okay, be the number 1, like as in playing on the first pair, right? There's a difference. I think by the end of the year, he will be the clear cut. Yeah, he's our best guy on the right side. I don't necessarily think that means he's going to play with Jake Sanderson, the number 1 pair. I think he's going to play with Shabbat in the sort of Jensen role of the past, but also bring some offense. And I think he's going to be pretty darn good, Steve. I'm as high on him the way that you're high on Kaliyev.
Yeah, I'm relatively high on Kaliyev. I don't know if I'm that high on him, but where I'd say he's their best winger. But I'm curious to see what Jordan Spence can deliver for sure, and I think he's comfortably on the team, no doubt about that. I'm in a wait and see mode beyond that. Yakimchuk, I think, is one of the most interesting ones. Steve Staios was on with the guys on Coming In Hot. And he basically said, I've got his quote right here. I'm not dismissing that he makes our team out of camp. He's going to let us know where he is. He did say that last season he felt like, while it was disappointing in the moment, Yakimchuk missing the World Juniors last year, that stung at the time, but maybe it's not the worst thing for his development and fire to prove people wrong. So what do you think about Staios? Not dismissing the idea. Is that just lip service? Or in the case of their very best blue chip prospect, does he mean it?
I think he means it. I mean, you'd be silly to dismiss it. You'd be silly right away to say, no, he's going to Belleville. Like a kid comes into camp and he shines. He plays as well as he did at last year's camp. He probably starts the year with the big club this year. You don't have that whole send him to junior, don't send him to junior 10-game thing. It's Belleville or it's Ottawa. And I think if he plays the same way in training camp at preseason, I think he starts the year with the club. I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's first pair, second pair, third pair, or 7th guy, but I think, yeah, if he plays well, he's going to be here to start the season. Is it the right thing long term? Would you prefer to not have him here and get another year of development? Yeah, but not if he's already developed. If the guy's already good enough, boom, he's on the team. That's simple. So I have no problem with Staios said. It makes perfect sense. Is there a little bit of a motivational sort of hint in there in that statement? Yeah, sure. Right? The kid's going to hear it. The kid's going to know that, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, maybe I do have a better shot than I thought I had. That's going to give him a little bit of confidence. It works both ways.
I think if you ask Steve Staios, I mean, you're, everything you say is right, but at the same time, it's hard to know for sure because everybody we're going to talk about here, the 6 guys at each of the 6 positions, if you ask Staios about any of these guys, he's going to say pretty much the same thing. He's going to let us know. Of course, he's got a chance to make this team. You don't want to demotivate anybody at this stage of the game. So, but I agree. I think that he does. In the case of Yakimchuk, based on what we saw last fall, he almost made the team then, combined with the fact that he's an uber high prospect for this team. Like he is their best prospect. I think he absolutely means it in this particular case. Left defense, Jake Sanderson, number 1. Duh. Then Thomas Chabot, Tyler Clevin, I think is going to narrow the gap between 2 and 3 this year. Donovan Sabrango at 4, Jorian Donovan at 5, and Matthew Andonovsky at number 6. So, yeah, things are as with the left side, left wing, left defense. It gets thin in a big old hurry once you get beyond the NHL bodies. But what do you think of that?
I'm not sure about Sabrango.
Right.
Jorian Donovan, from what I've from reading various scouting reports on him, he's developed nicely. He's getting better. We'll see. A full year down there did him some good last year. We'll see if he develops more this year and where he's at, because he's only 1 year removed from junior, right? Last year was his first year as a pro. We'll see where he gets to when he climbs up the ladder a little.
And Andonovsky's an interesting one in that he is a very well-regarded player, put up some big penalty minutes as well. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. He was the Kitchener Rangers captain this past season, and it was like, stats don't tell the whole story, but here's a guy who was in 23-24. He was a plus 58. There's your defense. And lastly, this whole process is actually taking longer than I thought it would, but here we are. We're down to the goaltenders. Your top 6.
Okay.
Lean us all.
I'm enjoying it.
Okay, good. I'm hoping the good listener is as well and not bored to tears by it. But these are the organizational rankings at each position. You have Linus Ullmark number 1, Levi Merrilainen number 2, and then things get interesting after that. Believe it or not, in a bit of a wild card, I'm letting Hunter Shepard jump over Matt Sogard at number 3. Sogard next at 4, Jackson Parsons 5, and then take your pick at number 6 between Kevin Riedler and Vladimir Nikitin. What say you?
I'm not prepared to give up number 3. I got to see more. I would like to see a full, healthy season for the Great Dane. Wouldn't you like to see the guy play a whole season healthy with one team, no call-ups, no injuries, just play the whole year in Belleville as the number 1 guy, play 2/3 of the games and see what the guy really has. You talk about make or break years. This might be a make or break year for him.
Yeah. And he's also a guy who's on a one-way contract this year. So
True.
I believe he has to clear waivers. Sorry?
No way around that, right? So that affects call-ups. If you call him up, he's got to clear waivers to go down. He's going to have to. Does he have to clear waivers at the end of camp? Yes, he does, right? Like
that was going to be my point.
Yeah, you chop down your roster to start the season. As soon as you can't just kind of release him and send him down to Belleville, he's got to go through waivers, so he could get picked up at that point. So there's a little bit of no, they're not going to keep him. So the Senators will not be keeping Sogard. I mean, unless Merrilainen or Ullmark gets into an injury problem during training camp, Sogard is either going to Belleville or somebody's going to pick him up in the first weekend in October before the season starts.
Right. Yeah, that's the issue with Sogard. He won't make the team out of camp. It'll be Ullmark and Merrilainen. They've basically said as much. And so Sogard will go down, but he has to clear waivers first, and it'll be interesting to see if there's any interest in a 6'7" goaltender who was drafted in the second round. But he's been injury prone. I don't know if there's something correlated. I mean, Ben Bishop always seemed to get dinged up a little bit as well. Like when you're that tall and down in the butterfly, you think about the torque on all the lower body joints that are going on there with everything being so long and lean. I wonder if that leaves you more susceptible to injury when you're that tall, because Sogard has had no shortage of injuries. And the reason I like Shepard is one simple reason. He's a winner. The guy has won 2 of the last 3 American Hockey League Calder Cups playing for the Hershey Bears. And he wasn't a guy sitting on the bench or anything. He was their goalie throughout those playoffs. So I like that part. He's also a little older. He's in his late 20s. And I feel like, if Ullmark or Merrilainen go down, are you going to an unproven Sogard? He does have the most NHL games, Sogard, but I have a feeling they'd go to Shepard. He's got a little bit of experience, like just a handful of games played with the Washington Capitals, but I feel like he'd be probably the number 3 guy at this stage of the game. And time will tell as to what happens, but it probably will be either Sogard or Shepard, though Jackson Parsons had a tremendous Ontario Hockey League season, and good Embrun boy there. Or is it? Yeah, I think it's Embrun, I want to say. So there it is. Your organizational depth chart, top 6 at each position. Let us know what you think. SensNationHockey@Outlook.com.
Here in Canada, we don't just make lights. We craft possibility, connection, and celebration, built right here by people who care about what they're creating. At Celebrite, we're made of all the colors of the RGB rainbow, each person bringing their own brilliance. Because when we come together, we make something brighter. Celebrite.ca, proudly made in Canada.
The Ford It's a Big Deal event is on. Right now at Jim K. Ford, lease a 2025 Escape Active all-wheel drive from $198 bi-weekly at 1.99% APR for 36 months with $2,755 down. That's like $99 weekly. Plus a $750 bonus for eligible Ford owners. Like we said, it's a big deal and it's on now, but not for long. Visit Jim K. Ford today for details or online at jimkford.com.
At Jim K. Ford Lincoln, we say yes!
Arthur Kaliyev is an interesting name. A lot of people, when I put this out on the hockey news about Kaliyev, a lot of people sort of came back and I forgot they even signed that guy. Kaliyev is a guy that has been a regular NHLer for several seasons. He didn't become King Arthur like LA had hoped. He was bottom six most of his time in LA, and then finally the Kings decided to turn the page and traded him to the New York Rangers this past season. The Rangers opted not to bring him back. He was a free agent, and the Sens decided to grab him, and he got a one-year contract. It's a two-way deal, and the comparison I made in the hockey news this week is the fact that I believe that it at least has all the potential to be another Adam Gaudette story. Gaudette came into this organization last year. Nobody said he has no chance to make this team, but nobody was saying he was a shoo-in either. And I feel like Kaliyev has almost identical potential as training camp begins next month. What do you think?
I'm with you. Yeah. 6'2", 220 pounds or 210 pounds and could score, right? He's a proven goal scorer. Not necessarily the NHL level, but this guy scored, was it 31, 51, and then 40-something in his 3 years in the OHL playing for Steve Stajos. Maybe didn't quite get on track the way they wanted in LA. From what I understand, it's more of his skating's an issue, and his defensive zone, his intensity is a bit of an issue. So if anybody cares about that more than anyone else around here, it's probably Travis Green. I would think that Travis Green would have a lot to say and can help this kid become a better player, a 200-foot player, and he's already got the offense. Like, that's the nice part. You don't have to teach him how to score. You don't have to teach him to have a nose for the net or where to go or how to read off the rush or read off the cycle. He already knows all that stuff. You just need to work with him, wind up the intensity a little, get the defensive side of the puck game going, and yeah, he could definitely. What did Gaudette put up? How many goals did Gaudette put up? Like 20? Did he get to 20 or was it 19?
It was 18 or 19, yeah.
Yeah, so but surely Kaliyev, he played about 130 games in LA, 30 goals, something like that in that time frame, playing in the bottom six. I could see it. Yeah, I could see the guy coming through, maybe getting a spot. Somebody gets injured. Maybe he's the 13th forward coming out of training camp. Like, yeah, there's a spot for him here if he's able to step up and grab it.
Yeah, skating's an issue. There's no question about that. And you mentioned the other things. Sometimes, commitment away from the puck is a big deal in today's NHL. Well, has been for 25 years and longer. And sometimes he's cuts corners, let's say. So that's problematic. But he has an elite, not like a OHL or AHL, not a release at those levels. He's got an elite NHL shot already.
Yeah.
Like it's hard, it's quick, it's hard to stop, all those things. Unfortunately, in LA, he didn't have a lot of breaks. I don't think his shooting percentage was all that great, but the guy shoots a lot, and he's got a fantastic shot, better than the newcomer Zetterlund, for example. So Kaliyev, I don't think he's going to make the team, but the circumstances are very similar in that you look at Gaudette last year, he came in, and part of the reason he signed here was that he had been a player under Travis Green. And what is that trust level worth to a player? He knew coming in that Green trusted him. And so that pass connection, along with the offensive skill that he's shown at other levels, this was the Hobey Baker winner of the pass, by the way, in 2018. Kaliyev, same deal. I think it was something, you mentioned the goal totals. I think it was like 95 goals in his last 2 seasons in the Ontario Hockey League. And that was under Steve Staios in Hamilton. So again, why does a guy who's been a regular NHLer come to Ottawa and sign a 2-way contract? It's because same reason. That trust that he's got under Staios, who is going to give him every opportunity with, at least a fair shot, as opposed to other places where it might be like, oh, this guy's, I'm not keen on that guy. Staios knew or knows what Kaliyev can do, and last year Green knew what Gaudette could do, and that's a huge deal, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. There's a comfort level for the player right off the bat, and he knows he's got somebody in his corner, right? A member of management, in this case, the top member of management, is in your corner. So that should release some of that pressure, stress, whatever. Just go out and play. And I'm sure Steve Staios is going to tell him, look, you do what you do. Take in what Travis wants you to do on the defensive side, but let's be creative, show that imagination, get that shot off, be the offensive player you can be. Do what you can do in that end of the ice, and he's got a decent shot, like a decent shot at making the team. I'm saying, like, if he makes his team out of camp, be it within 12 forwards or maybe the 13th forward, he could get some power play time the same way that Gaudette did. Second unit power play, Gaudette's got some goals there. That you could feature his shot on a second power play unit.
Kaliyev was claimed on waivers this past season, and he had a conversation with the media shortly after he was acquired in New York. And I think generally speaking, because he was there for such a short time, you can pretty much take all the answers that I'm about to play for you now, courtesy of the New York Rangers, and sub in Ottawa Senators. And he talks a little bit, first of all, about what kind of player he is.
Pretty much everything. Obviously, offensive side of the game, making plays, scoring, all that, creating chances. And honestly, just trying to do my best overall game, playing hard, having great effort. In 3 zones, playing good D zone, obviously, and just trying my best everywhere.
You mentioned not expecting it necessarily. Is there a part of you that's excited for a fresh start at this stage of your career while you're still so young?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've been looking for it for quite a bit of time. I think this is going to be really exciting. Get a new fresh starting opportunity, prove yourself as a player. And I think I'm really excited for this opportunity.
What do you think went wrong for you in Los Angeles? I mean,
I don't know. I thought my career started off there well, and I think unfortunately, I think a few guys they signed off season maybe, or just the last 8 or a year didn't work out. I didn't think I got the opportunity to succeed much. No, not playing obviously too much out there. So it was. It was great. My time was great. I played pretty well my career, but unfortunately didn't end up well I wanted to.
So there's Arthur Kaliyev in conversation with the New York media, and I think if you fast forward to his first conversation with the Ottawa media, I almost guarantee you it's going to sound exactly like the one you just heard there. Anyway.
Well, he gets to New York, right? It's the trade deadline. It's a team struggling all year, and it's a team trying to make the playoffs. Did they acquire him because did they pick him up because they thought maybe he could do something for them offensively? His minutes, his time on ice didn't seem to reflect that. It kind of makes me think that it was a coach and a GM not necessarily on the same page. Like if you're struggling to make the playoffs and having a bad year and you bring in a guy known to score goals, shouldn't he be given the opportunity to do that for your team? And he really wasn't while he was there in New York. I mean, it was like 3 goals in 15 games or something. His time on ice wasn't reflective of the type of player that he was or is. So I don't know that he was really given a fair shot in New York. And that's what I'm talking about when I say he's got Steve Staios now. He knows that he's got a guy on his side, and I think Travis Green will work with him defensively, and we'll see what he ends up being.
All right, let's get the quote from Steve Staios about what he likes about Arthur Kaliyev.
Calls him Artie.
Artie, exactly. We've got another Artie party here, ladies and gentlemen. Artem Anisimov. I wonder if he'll throw on the goalie pads as Artem Anisimov did. But this is what Staios had to say about things. This was on the Coming In Hot podcast this week. I have a long history with Artie. He was an exceptional shooter and goal scorer at the junior level, and we still feel like he has qualities that can translate to the NHL. His game started to develop in LA on the defensive side of things. Obviously, like all players coming out of junior, when you have a knack for scoring, and that's how you help your team, you tend to focus on that. I think he's been able to round out his game on the defensive side with his time in LA under Todd McClellan. And then you watch the transition to New York, and then he had injuries last year. And I think it was an opportunity for us to get a player again with some upside and a unique skill set. And so, yeah, I mean, it may not work out. You know what? It may not work out, but you're taking a shot. And we saw this with DJ Smith, for example. He brought in a number of guys that used to play for him in the Ontario Hockey League, or guys that had played with him with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So connections make the world go round. That's the opportunity, and now it's a matter of, can Kaliyev capitalize on it? For Steve Staios, it's a very cheap player. You know, we're talking entry-level deal. It's a two-way contract. And if nothing else, he and Jan Yannick can go down to Belleville and thrill the B-Sens fans down there, because I can almost guarantee you one thing, that duo, if they show anything like what they did in their time together with the Hamilton Bulldogs, they will be very impressive to Belleville hockey fans this coming season.
And this is the year we're going to go see a game, Steve.
Exactly. I can feel it. We've been vowing to do it for some time, but maybe this is the year. So there it is with Arthur Kaliyev. We spoke earlier in the program about Shane Pinto, maybe the second best center on this team right now. Obviously, Dylan Cousins is going to get all the love in the early going. That's the way it probably will lay out, but Pinto will be, banging on the door as we go. And by the way, I hate to, keep quoting Brent's podcast coming in hot, but they had Steve Staios on, and he also had some comments about Shane Pinto as he enters the final year of his contract this year. And they were as follows, these comments. I think what we've decided as far as contract talks go, what we've decided on is we're going to let the season start and not have Shane distracted with contract talks. But I guess the best way to put it is we've had preliminary conversations, positive ones, that lead me to believe there will be a deal done at the right time. And that's all I can really report on that. And you would wonder, though, with a guy that's making some pretty good money. Like, what is he? Off the top of my head, is he like
3.5?
Yeah, 3.5 to 4 million, somewhere in there. Yeah, I think he's something like that. He's making what he should be, I think, for where he is in the batting order as the third line center, as the guy who's killing penalties, and where his offensive stats are right now. I don't think he needs a big raise on that. But if you give him the opportunity to go out and get top 6 minutes and more power play time, maybe a little less time killing penalties, maybe he can bring up those stats to a big number. So it's and if you throw in the fact that he's going to Olympic orientation camp, and makes the team, now you're really talking about big dough. So I have no idea what, you talk about talks right now. I think if the Sens had their druthers, they'd like to get something done here and now if they could, but as they say, it takes two to tango.
Right. It's a calculated risk by both sides, right? The calculated risk on the Senators side is Shane Pinto is that 3 to 5 million third line guy at best, 2.5 maybe, penalty killer, second power play unit maybe. So we'll just let it play the year. And then that, if the Senators could go to him right now, based on your performance up to now, this is the number, they would like to get it done. On Shane Pinto's side, the calculated risk is I'm better than what you're paying me now. I'm going to get even better. I will be the number 2 or should be paid like a number 2. So his calculated risk is I don't want to sign now. I'm going to wait and sign later. So who's right? Is Shane Pinto in this number that the Senators think is right, or is Shane Pinto at this number that he thinks is right? This season, make or break. It seems to be the theme of the show today, Steve. It's another make or break kind of situation here in the case of Shane Pinto. What are you going to be? Who are you going to end up being? What type of player are you? Therefore, what's your demands financially?
Shane Pinto has two things going for him. That Olympic factor, that's huge in that he's on the radar, whereas Dylan Cousins is not being mentioned by anybody as being a Team Canada candidate. So that's an edge there. And nobody in Ottawa is saying things like, for example, his coach. He is not saying things like, now keep in mind, when Lindy Ruff said this about Dylan Cousins, Cousins had just been traded, so he was no longer one of his players. And he said he never really found his game here. Hearing that, no one's ever said that about Shane Pinto in Ottawa, but he's still here, of course, too. So there's two things I think that give Pinto a bit of an advantage over Cousins. And another reason, just going back to what we talked about earlier, is as to why he has a shot at overtaking Cousins as the second line center. But that remains to be seen. But it also plays a factor in, if he does ascend in the lineup past a Dylan Cousins, that's going to affect his production and what he could make as far as a paycheck goes. So a lot of variables. And if you ask the question, it's impossible to answer until you see what happens with Cousins and what happens with Pinto. Once you see the season play out, you'll have a pretty good idea of what Pinto will earn in his next deal.
And I think that's the biggest thing that he's got going for him. The biggest factor here is that it's Dylan Cousins he's competing with now, not Josh Norris. I think Josh Norris was ahead of him and probably always would have been ahead of him. Dylan Cousins is showing some signs over his career that he's not quite a 200-foot guy. He's not quite a consistent player. He has little brain farts now and then. He gets paid as Josh Norris got paid, or close to it, but he's not the same player as Josh Norris. So Pinto, the competition isn't quite as stiff if Shane Pinto's going to step up and take a job.
Finally, here on the program, as we head to another Atlantic Division story, not necessarily some Sens talk, Mitch Marner had a conversation with TSN's Mark Masters this week that probably ruffled some Leaf fan feathers. Mitch Marner, of course, never quite able to get it done at playoff time. Sorry, I got a bad wrist here. Just basically twisted it the wrong way. Apology. Mitch Marner, never able to get it done at playoff time. Now a member of the Vegas Golden Knights, having this conversation with TSN, and he talked about last spring being really nasty. Like, I guess somebody put his address out on social media, and people showing up and dumping stuff on his lawn. And literally, he said to Masters that get a security team to make sure my family was safe. And when your family, you're not feeling like your family is safe, it's I'm paraphrasing now, but that's a symptom that maybe it's time to go. What did you think of his comments?
I agree with him totally. First and foremost, the guy putting his address out there, that's just an idiot. But from my original take from reading the quote from Marner was that the guy was a fan, the guy was a supporter, the guy was, I think, I'm putting words, speaking on behalf of this guy. If he did it because he wanted people to go over to Mitch Marner's house and egg him and throw garbage on his lawn, then the guy's an idiot. If he was doing it because he wanted to go over there and say, hey, Mitchie, we support you, we're with you, and hold up a sign, we love you, Mitch, please stay, Mitch, then okay, that's a little bit different take on things. That makes sense. But either way, you shouldn't be putting out the guy's address online. Yeah. Come on. And if I'm Mitch Marner and my address is now out there, like, what's he going to do? Move? If he re-signs in Toronto, is he going to move? Probably going to have to, because no matter what, any bad night, any night of the week, any night of the season, he's open up for this crap at his home. So I get it. That would just be one more thing that would push him out the door. I mean, I think he already was out the door, but that would just be one more thing. I get it. You want to play in a market, some players want to play in a market where hockey's important and it's special and you get that superstardom and the fans love you. And Marner was the quote that, they treat us like gods. You're a god here. That was his quote from a couple of years ago. I agree with that, but that only goes so far. I don't need that crap going on my front lawn.
Yeah, I mean, it's 100% stupid no matter what the intent is behind it to give out somebody's address. It's worse if you're inviting people to do abusive things. But even if you have kind thoughts behind it, it's still 100% stupid, because you know that some other people are going to do those bad things. It really is an interesting thing from a fan perspective. You do the things you want to do from a fan perspective, like boo in the stands and everything. But once you leave the arena, it's over. Like that's way beyond what should be acceptable. And when you think you're doing that, I'm sure this Leaf fan that did this and the other Leaf fans who threw stuff on the yard, I'm sure they think that they're, trying to hold the team and players accountable, and they want to win a Stanley Cup. Like, talk about wrecking your team's chances on into the future. It's a small thing, but you're not helping future superstar free agents when they're going to make a decision on where they want to play NHL hockey next. Is Toronto now on a higher level on their wish list because of that? Of course not. It's hacked away at Toronto being a destination spot. The media's already psycho there. You go anywhere, you're recognized, and everybody's on you and stuff. Like across the board, you'll get paid like you will anywhere else. Like Austin Matthews is, I think he's the highest paid player in the league, right? Or near it anyway. You'll be taken care of in Toronto from that perspective, but there are a lot of variables in Toronto that make it already not a place you necessarily want to go. And if you're going to throw my family's not safe here onto the mix, that's a huge deterrent for me. So it's just stupid.
I mean, it's one thing to maybe you think you want Marner to re-sign, and oh, geez, I guess I blew that. I shouldn't have thrown a garbage pail on his lawn. He's not going to re-sign. But think about it long term, and you're absolutely right. Who the hell? There are certain guys who are going to go, yeah, I don't need that, or they're going to come to Toronto and live in some high-rise, ultra-secure condo and no family in town, or they got to live there by themselves, or whatever. It was stupid all around. And I think Leon Draisaitl's got the highest AAV right now in the NHL.
Got it.
But I think
got it. Yeah. It's in the vicinity anyway.
Yes.
All right. Let us call it quits right there, ladies and gentlemen. We do appreciate you being here today. Don't forget that our website is sensnationhockey.com. That's where you can easily find the program. Please do subscribe, whether you're on YouTube or listening online. If you hit follow or subscribe, then you'll automatically be notified when new episodes are up. We're going to try, because I'm down to hosting one podcast now, Greg. So I really want to start.
Official announcement?
No, not the official announcement. It's sort of it's kind of out there. But I really want to sort of figure out, okay, this is our publishing date. This is when people can expect it. That's sort of one of the golden rules of podcasting. People need to know when to expect shows are going to drop, but this will help it along. Hit subscribe or follow. You'll automatically be notified when new episodes drop. And don't forget about the hockey news. I'm writing my face off there about the Ottawa Senators. It's thn.com/Ottawa. And that will do it for today's program. Greg, enjoy the rest of your long weekend, and we'll talk to you on our next episode.
For sure. Thanks, Steve.